In the heart of 1930s Germany, where folklore whispers through the golden wheat fields, a shadow fell upon a small, isolated farm. It was a time when the line between man and beast, between legend and reality, was thin as the morning fog that clung to the damp earth. They said no man could survive the beast's challenge, a trial whispered only in hushed tones when the moon was full and the night was long. Our story begins at the break of dawn, a faint, cold light struggling to pierce the thick blanket of mist. The air was still, unnaturally so. The usual chorus of farm life was silent. A poor farmer, his face etched with the hardships of the land, walked through the muddy fields. A knot of dread tightened in his stomach with every step. His livestock, the very heart of his livelihood, was gone. Vanished without a trace, save for the lingering scent of fear and a single unnervingly large paw print in the mud. As news spread, the villagers gathered, their lanterns casting flickering, nervous shadows against the rolling fog. Fear was a palpable thing, a cold presence that wrapped around them. They exchanged worried glances, their voices low and trembling. "The wolf walks like a man," one whispered, the old words hanging heavy in the air. It was a tale their grandfathers told, a story of a creature that blurred the lines of nature, a monster born from a curse as old as the hills themselves. That night, the full moon hung in the sky like a silver eye, its light filtering through wispy, racing clouds. A storm was brewing on the horizon, distant thunder rumbling like a giant's stomach. The farmer stood alone outside his barn, the weak flame of his lantern the only warmth in the chilling darkness. He was waiting. He didn't know for what, but an ancient instinct told him the night was not over. The silence was broken by a rustle in the nearby forest, a sound too heavy to be any normal animal. Then a shadow detached itself from the deeper darkness of the trees. It was tall, impossibly so, and moved with a terrifying grace. It stepped into the faint moonlight, and the farmer's breath caught in his throat. It was not a wolf, nor was it a man. It was something in between, a horrifying fusion of both. Its form was hulking and powerful, covered in coarse, dark fur, but it stood on two legs. 2 points of crimson light glowed from within the shadowy head, eyes that burned with a malevolent intelligence. The air grew heavy, thick with a primal dread that seemed to seep from the very ground. The creature took another step forward, the mist swirling around its massive form. When it spoke, the voice was not the growl of a beast, but a deep, resonant rumble that sounded chillingly human. "I have taken your flock," it said, the words echoing with an ancient power. "But it is not your sheep I desire. Your soul is a far richer prize. I offer you a challenge, farmer. Your 7 hounds against my hunger, their lives for yours. Choose before the dawn." The farmer's body trembled, not just from the cold night air, but from a terror that shook him to his very core. He looked at the monstrous being before him, then back towards the warmth of his small home. Inside were his 7 loyal dogs, his companions, his family. They were strong, brave hounds, but what chance did they have against a nightmare made flesh? His heart hammered against his ribs, his soul or the lives of those who trusted him completely. It was an impossible choice, a bargain made in the devil's own moonlight. With a shaking hand, he slowly unlatched the kennel door. A wave of barks erupted, a cacophony of loyalty and courage. 7 dogs, each a different shade of brown and black, poured out, their tails wagging, oblivious to the monstrous pact being made on their behalf. They circled their master, sensing his distress, nudging his hands and whining softly. The farmer knelt, burying his face in the fur of his oldest hound, his shoulders shaking with a silent sob. To send them to their deaths, it was a betrayal beyond words. But to surrender his own soul was to condemn himself to an eternity with the beast. He looked up, his eyes meeting the glowing red stare of the werewolf. A flicker of defiance, born of desperation and love for his dogs, sparked within him. Perhaps they had a chance. They were 7, and they had fought off bears and wild boars before. Taking a deep, ragged breath, he made his choice. "They will fight," he croaked, his voice barely a whisper. He rose to his feet and pointed a trembling finger towards the dark forest from which the beast had emerged. "Go!" he commanded his dogs. "Go!" The hounds, sensing the urgency and the direction of their master's will, turned as one. Their barks changed from confusion to aggression. With a chorus of fierce growls and determined yaps, they charged into the darkness, a wave of fur and fury disappearing into the misty woods. The farmer watched them go, his heart a leaden weight in his chest. The werewolf let out a low, rumbling growl of satisfaction, a sound that promised a night of blood and sorrow. As a clap of thunder roared overhead, the farmer was left alone in the moonlight, the echoes of his loyal companion's barks fading into the terrifying silence of the forest. The night of 7 howls had just begun. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the heart of darkness. This is just the beginning of the farmer's harrowing tale. What will become of his 7 loyal hounds? Can courage and loyalty stand against an ancient curse? Make sure you're subscribed and have notifications turned on so you don't miss part 2. We'd love to hear your predictions in the comments below. See you next time.